Hey, it's me again. What was already bad has gotten even worse. In the past few days, one of the biggest scandals involving INSS retirees and pensioners has come to light. According to reports, the deficit exceeds 6 billion Rs. 4 million elderly people robbed, and most of the victims are from the north and northeast. But everyone already knows that. What they haven't told you is that the current scandal amounts to 6 billion. Today, with the new CGU report, it showed that in 2023 alone, 35,000 people reported fraud, and the amount involved, 90 billion.
90 billion.
We are facing the biggest corruption scandal in the history of our country. And the scam worked like this. Retirees were enrolled without their consent, had amounts deducted directly from their paychecks, or took out loans they never requested. And then, when they complained, nothing happened. We're talking about the embezzlement of billions from sick and elderly people. Money that should be in the pockets of those who worked their whole lives and now depend on their retirement to live. And of course, they're going to spread the narrative that it all started with the previous government. And have you noticed that in the last government, everything was only the president's fault? And in this government, nothing is the president's fault? But look how interesting this is. Investigations showed that these irregular deductions had been happening for years, which led the Bolsonaro government in 2019 to introduce Provisional Measure 871 precisely to combat this type of fraud in deductions. It required unions and associations to prove every 2 years that the retiree was really authorizing that deduction. Guess who was against it? That's right, the left. As if that weren't enough, in 2022, with votes from the left, they overturned this law. And what do you think happened in the following years? Bingo! It was exactly after this protection mechanism against fraud was overturned that there was this absurd increase in improper deductions. Or, to put it plainly, an absurd increase in theft from the elderly. Let me spell it out, because I know some people only understand it this way. In 2019, Bolsonaro passes a law to protect these elderly people from fraud. In 2022, the left overturns this law in Congress. In 2023 and 2024, there's an explosion of fraudulent of fraud. And there are still people surprised by this? Wasn't it Alckmin who said, the thief wants to return to the scene of the crime? And in fact, he did return. Since the beginning of Lula's administration, representatives from the Ministry of Social Security have attended at least 15 meetings with organizations that are now under investigation. In fact, Minister Carlos Lupi, himself and the former president of INSS, Alessandro Stefanuti, were present at 8 of these meetings. The organization that participated in the most meetings with the ministers was Contabil, precisely the group that stole the most money from retirees. And the scandal is even more serious. The CGU audit report revealed that in many cases, authorizations for deductions were made in the names of people who were not even able to express their will. Absurd situations were found. People with severe disabilities, unable to sign any document. Indigenous people living in remote villages who cannot read or write. And even retirees who don't even live in Brazil. Stealing from someone is already terrible, but stealing from people in this situation means being certain that nothing will happen to you. It's no wonder that the INSS's own report shows that the government was aware and knew how to block the deductions since 2023. The Federal Court of Accounts was also aware of the complaint since 2023. Since that time, it could have helped the people who were victims. But the trial was stalled for over a year by a TCU minister appointed by Lula. And the union under investigation belonged to Lula's brother, and the son of Lewandowski, Lula's minister, is a lawyer for another entity accused of fraud at the INSS. It's the country of coincidences. In other words, they met with the investigated entities, were warned, admitted they knew, and ignored it. They pretended they didn't see it. Now, under the pressure of the scandal, the Lula government just replaced the minister, and that's it. No consequences for him. Funny, isn't it? If a poor person gets the zip code wrong on a form, it's fraud. But if the system diverts billions, they just swap out the person in charge. The same person who, in 2011, was also replaced by Dilma for corruption in his ministry. That's right. Lula chose Carlos Lupi, a guy with a history of corruption, to take care of money for the elderly and the sick. And after 14 years, he comes back and falls in exactly the same way. All of this is happening. And do you know what the government's solution is? INSS will use the people's money to pay back retirees and pensioners. In other words, the victims will be the ones to cover the losses of the victims. And what about the criminals, Nicholas? They'll remain free without any punishment. What a beautiful democracy. They steal, and when we find out, they send the bill for the Brazilian people to pay. That makes it easy to steal. It's the perfect crime. Okay, Nicholas, but what are you doing about it? The opposition and I have introduced a bill to permanently ban this kind of automatic deduction from INSS. And more than that, I need your help to request the installation of a Parliamentary Inquiry Commission, CPI, into the thefts from retirees. And it will be in that commission that we will investigate more deeply and be able to put those responsible for this in jail. And then, yes, make them return the money instead of you having to pay for it. Go to the social media pages of Hugo Mota and Davi Alcolumbre and ask for this commission to be set up. And finally, urgently go to your bank or check your account statement on your phone to see if there are any unauthorized deductions. Only then will you know if you are being robbed or not, and you can request the immediate cancellation of this theft. And yes, time goes by quickly. I know that many people don't think about the future, but one day it will come. And when that day comes, may we have done something to make things different from what we are experiencing now. No one can stand a country that only discourages us with every piece of news. But to get somewhere different, we need to do something different. Because the party that promised to take care of the people, a president who presented himself as the father of the poor, ended up exploiting those they swore the most to defend. But they only got there because many people believed in them. And for how long? Because when that day comes, it might be too late, to change Brazil.